In this presentation, we are going to look at the French conquest of the Segu Caliphate. The Segu Caliphate was established out of the activities of some Islamic jihadists. The establishment of the Segu Caliphate was traceable to a jihadist named Alhaji Umar. Alhaji Umar's jihad in the West African sub-region led to the establishment of the Segu Caliphate. The Segu Caliphate was established around the Senegambia area, where you have the Bambara, the Masina, and some other territories or some other areas within that area, within that territory. The influence of Alhaji Umar's control of the Segu Caliphate at the time started conflicting with the interests of the French. The French that had hitherto established their presence in the Senegambia area decided to encroach into the caliphate of Alhaji Umar, or the Segu Caliphate. Well, but the earliest contact between the French and the Segu Caliphate was based on an attempt by Alhaji Umar to take over the Senegambia area. In this attempt, Alhaji Umar worked towards taking over the region, the whole region. Well, this came in conflict with the French. The French considered the region as the area of their influence. For the next 2 years, several battles were fought between Alhaji Umar and the French. Well, in most of those battles, Alhaji Umar's troops were defeated. This made him to abandon his conquest, or his desire to conquer the whole Senegambia region. But his ambitions were recorded in the minds and the politics of the French. Well, the French found out that they could not just ignore Alhaji Umar, and this started making them to take interest in taking over Segu Caliphate. The main reason, or their main desire, was to control the area, possibly as well to stop other European nations from having influence in that area. Well, by 1863, many of the settlements in the region were occupied by the French. To achieve this, the French sent down a renowned Frenchman which had serious knowledge of Islamic principles and activities. He has worked in the Maghreb region for quite some time. His name was Fred. He was appointed the governor in the area. Fred was said to have a very great knowledge of Islamic activities. He was even said to have spoken Arabic fluently. So in 1863, Alhaji Umar was already a very strong and influential leader of the Segu Caliphate. He therefore could not be ignored by the French. In that year, Governor Fred sent emissaries led by Captain Marcy to Alhaji Umar. Well, Fred wanted Alhaji Umar to give the French the monopoly of trade in the Segu Caliphate. He was also required to allow the French traders to establish trading posts along the River Niger lines within Segu Caliphate. While the emissaries arrived in Segu around February 1864, but as at this period, Alhaji Umar was still engaged in military expedition against Massina. He couldn't meet with these French delegates, but his son, Ahmadu, met with them. Well, Alhaji Umar was later killed in Massina, and his son succeeded him as the Caliph of Segu Empire. The succession or the rise to the throne of Ahmadu did not go down well with two of his brothers, who started struggling for this throne with him. Well, this conflict or this tussle over the power or the control of the empire led to civil wars. In this civil war, the French saw an opportunity for them to get involved, but they decided not to. Rather, they did business with both sides. They supplied arms to both sides of the conflict. Well, in that conflict, Ahmadu had upper hand. In the end, Ahmadu had upper hand and was able to put up his influence within the empire. Well, the French as well carried a mission to him in order to put up some demands. These demands, which were earlier also presented in the empire, did not easily go down well with Ahmadu. However, Ahmadu promised to encourage trade between the French and Segu Caliphate. Between 1872 and around 1874, there was another civil war between Ahmadu and his brothers. In this second war, the French decided not to take sides. The French decided not to support any of the sides. As a matter of fact, the French decided not to get involved in any way. Well, when the French saw that Alhaji Umar was winning, they stopped supplying arms to him. Well, this weakened Ahmadu's men, and at the same time weakened the army of Segu Empire. Well, the French still continued nursing their ambition or desire to take over the empire, and for this reason, they started organizing themselves towards attacking the empire. To show their desire, they attacked Logo, which was part of the empire, and took over control of Logo. This attack was visualized by Ahmadu as an attempt to take over his empire. For this reason, he started organizing the defense of his empire. But he knew that all on his own, he could not easily fight the French. So he started looking for collaboration with some other Islamic states, the likes of Futa Jalon, Futa Toro, and some other areas, Futa Bundu, Jollof, and at the same time another powerful Islamic leader named Samori, who was the person that established Mandinka Empire. The French were not so comfortable with a collaboration between Segu Empire and Mandinka Empire of Samori, Ahmadu and Samori. So the French did everything within their power to make sure it was difficult for these two groups to collaborate. Well, within a very short time, the French sent an expedition with the intention of taking over Segu. But to do this, they worked with some other small tribes or some other small political units that were not comfortable with Segu. These small political units did their best in order to reduce the influence and the powers of Segu Caliphate. However, Ahmadu tried as well to link up with some other groups, but before the collaboration was set up, the French surprised him. The French, before this period, he was at Karata, which was far from the capital of Segu Caliphate, which was at Segu. Now, he started working towards returning from Karata to Segu in order to defend his empire. But before this could be done, the French attacked Segu, defeated the army that, though the army that were stationed to protect Segu, put up stiff resistance, but they were still defeated by the French, making it difficult for Ahmadu to return to Segu. The French continued taking over one territory after another in order to reduce the influence and powers of Ahmadu. But to actualize this, the French took over or put in place a diplomatic arrangement. In this diplomatic arrangement, the French brought in one of the brothers of Ahmadu, named one of the brothers of Ahmadu, named Akwibo. The French presented Akwibo as a very better leader, that was ready to do the biddings of the people. The French brought a theory that that too much of the wars fought by Ahmadu was affecting the commerce of Segu Caliphate. So this diplomatic position and debate were brought over by the people. Most of the people decided not to support Ahmadu, although he still has some support, but the number of support he had reduced. So when the French, in collaboration with Akwibo, started going from one territory to another, they found very low resistance. And by the end of the day, Ahmadu was defeated and he ran away with his family to Segu Caliphate, where he stayed until he died. Well, the French made Akwibo the leader of Segu Caliphate. But as at this time, Akwibo was already a puppet and could not do anything. Notwithstanding that the French promised the people that they are not taking over the empire. They promised that after Ahmadu must have been removed, they will withdraw. But that was not to be. Because after a little while, Akwibo was just kept like a pure figurehead. And the caliphate was to be dissolved around 1907 by the French, leading to the total takeover of the region. Well, please subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so that anytime we drop a new content, you will be one of the earliest to be notified. Thanks for still being part of our presentations.